Hi everyone, today it is June 13th and I'm back. It's been a little while, I know, but I'm back today, and the church honors today St. Anthony of Padua. And even though St. Anthony has an Italian city in his name, St. Anthony of Padua, he was in fact Portuguese. And he is a great doctor of the church. He's called the Evangelical Doctor, and that is because of his amazing preaching abilities. St. Anthony wanted to travel to Morocco and bring conversion to the Moors in Morocco, and to give his life there for the gospel. He joined the Franciscan friars. He had originally been a member of the Augustinian friars and had received quite a fine education in formation as an Augustinian. But he joined the young group of the Franciscans, and I say young because St. Francis had just begun his community of Friars Minor not too long before St. Anthony joined. And St. Anthony wanted to live a life of more radical discipleship, so he left the Augustinians to join the Franciscan friars. And he wanted to go as a Franciscan friar to Morocco to preach the gospel to the Moors and to give his life for the gospel as a martyr. But it didn't happen that way because God so often does different things than what we plan on. Because Anthony got sick in Morocco and he had to leave. And he ended up in Italy, this Portuguese friar, and lived the rest of his life in Italy. And there, once he got to Italy, a new gift was recognized in Anthony. Of course, he wanted first to be a martyr, as I said, to give his life for the Moor, for Jesus, and bringing the gospel to the Moors. But his exceptional ability to preach became recognized once he was back in Italy. And he used that gift to instruct and inspire many people to spiritual renewal. His preaching was eloquent, and it was persuasive, and it was gentle. And St. Anthony also helped to bring about many social reforms that benefited the poor and the oppressed. St. Anthony was only a priest for 9 years as a Franciscan, and he died at the young age of 36. Now, in this year in which the whole church is beginning to endeavor to have a Eucharistic revival, St. Anthony says something very beautiful about the Eucharist. He talked about the gospel story of Zacchaeus. You know the story about that short guy Zacchaeus who had to climb the sycamore tree to see Jesus. Zacchaeus, who was hated by everybody because of his lifestyle of cheating the poor as a tax collector, and it was a very wealthy man. And Jesus looks up, puts his eye upon Zacchaeus and calls him by name and says, "I want to come to your house." And Zacchaeus comes down with joy and welcomes the Lord. Well, anyway, St. Anthony said, this is the way we should be when we come to the Eucharist. We should come just like Zacchaeus and receive the Lord Jesus into our house with joy. And who knows, what might happen then. It certainly changed Zacchaeus' life. It changed Anthony's life when he wanted to lead a life of more radical discipleship. So we can use that exhortation of St. Anthony's that when we come up to receive the Eucharist from this table, that we receive it with joy. Jesus has come to be in our house and to be open to the ways that he wants to bring about change in us, change that will make us all that we can be. So, what's happening this week at St. Therese? Lots of things. Tomorrow, we have a funeral mass at 11 for our beloved brother, Tony Sparcia, who died suddenly and unexpectedly last week. And so we will gather together to pray for our dear brother and to support his wife Susan and his son Michael. That will be tomorrow at 11, right here in the church on Wednesday. Wednesday evening, we will have our second litanic of the season. Again, a litanic is when we gather together at someone's home to have Mass, and then we all eat food together and celebrate. So it will be hosted tomorrow evening by Debbie Kelly at her home. So if you are interested in coming to the litanic, which will begin around 6:30, please call the parish office to find out how you can get in touch with Debbie for directions and anything else you need to know. So that's tomorrow evening, Wednesday, litanic at Debbie Kelly's house. On Friday night, we have our Theater and Theology, our movie discussion night. We're going to be seeing a powerful movie, the true story about Sister Helen Prejean, who was a sister of St. Joseph, and her ministry to those on death row. So that's on Friday night, 7 p.m. It's not a documentary, it's an incredible movie that for which Susan Sarandon won Best Actress for her portrayal of Sister Helen Prejean. So that's Friday night, 7 o'clock in the meeting room. And then on Sunday, after the 9 o'clock Mass, 8 o'clock Mass, excuse me, after the 8 o'clock Mass, around 9 o'clock, we will have Father's Day breakfast for Father's Day. So come and celebrate and have a great week.